Hey, this Beer. This Cam.
I'm Mary.
And this is a Fenger Titans podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Fenger Titans podcast. And if you listen to episode 4, then you will know we have a special treat. As I said previously, this will be the entirety of the Mr.Miles interview, due to the fact he is no longer here with us at Fenger and that the interview exceeded our expectations. We made the decision to air the interview in its entirety. And here it is. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. And joining us, we have the head of our youth guidance program here at Fenger, Mr.Miles, joining us. Would you like to say hi?
Hello. How you doing, Titans?
And we just wanted to have Mr. Miles on to ask him a few questions about how he feels about the podcast in general. So, Mr. Miles, have you viewed the past episodes?
I've listened to them, yes. I haven't seen the podcast, but I have listened to them. They've been great.
So how do you feel about how we've been going so far?
I love that you guys have, I want youth to have leadership, and this is the one way to make sure that students always have a voice. This is a different way of doing it from how I was raised and how I came up in high school. So having a podcast right now is really setting you guys above a lot of other students who may not have a voice, and you guys get the chance to ask questions from people who you really need resources from. So I appreciate that.
I also have a question. So for the past 10 years, what is your most proud accomplishments?
Wow. Wow. Well, I've been a resource coordinator for 18 years, and I may be the longest running resource coordinator in this city at this point. I've had so many moments. I've been with students. We visited the President of the United States at the time, which was President Barack Obama. I've taken students to Whitney Plantation. We've done story exchanges, and I've had Fenger students who have won an Ellie Award. And if you don't know what that is, that means that's a magazine article that has been put out. But I guess my greatest moment is a book that we produced called Voices of Titans. And I'll make sure that I bring that book into you guys so you can check it out. But it was short stories and poems from the students who had wrote. And that was maybe 7 years ago when we did that, when we accomplished that book.
Mr. Miles, is there anything that you feel as Fenger Titans students should be doing or thinking about that they are not doing right now?
Many long years ago, I was a teenager, and the things that I experienced in high school, I had a great high school career. And so what I would ask Fenger Titan students to do is take advantage of every learning opportunity available to you. I'm glad you guys have joined podcasting, but I also want you to advocate for things that you don't have, which is like a Spanish teacher, more technology. You guys have voices, right? And I just want you guys to speak up for the right things, right? And so that would be the main thing that I would say, is that I don't see as a total student body, everyone taking advantage of the opportunities in this building. And there's a lot of them. We have workforce development going on. We have the Park District coming in later on this month. I need everybody there to sign up for jobs to make sure you have some money in your pockets for the summer. So there's a lot of things going on in here that I don't see everyone taking advantage of. Like even this podcasting room should even probably be more full with students with everything that they have to say, So just take advantage of the opportunities and always see yourself in a positive light, no matter what's going on.
Okay. Is there a skill or strategy that you enjoy doing?
A skill? I knew at 17 what my purpose was on this planet, and it was to inspire. So no matter what role or job per se that I have, I know that wherever I'm at is for me to give positivity and spread positivity, and to inspire at all times. And so, wherever I go, you're only as good as your word, right? And so when I say that, that means no matter where I'm at, even if I'm not in the room, as long as people are speaking positively about me, I know I'm doing right. And so that's when Are you going to have, is so-called, you're going to have haters here and there? Of course, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have people who are jealous or whatever. You can't even worry about that, right? But just wherever you go, you're making sure that wherever your name goes, right, that you're putting out the positive, and everything you put out positive only comes back to you. Okay. So that's what I would say around that.
So, as it being Black History Month, and we are well aware of very well known African American leaders, we wanted to talk about Fred Hampton, who we mentioned on our last podcast. Do you have any thoughts or see how what he did back then still affects us today?
Yes. Well, I have to go here first. With this current administration, a lot of things that's going on, they're trying to stop that the Black Panthers helped put in place. One is for sure, I don't know if you guys noticed that you haven't had free lunches after school. And one of the things that the Black Panthers did, especially concerning Fred Hampton, was they created a free lunch program. And anything that we've done as a people, the rest of the United States has benefited off of. And that includes civil rights movement, your HIPAA laws. There was a time where they could test on us, the Tuskegee Airmen, um, a sister by the name of Lax, I believe, who they took her cells, and the reason why we were able to cure certain cancers is because they kept using her cells over and over again, and she didn't get any compensation from that. Um, when it comes to the Black Panthers, even right now in Ohio, I see we have armed Black people protecting their neighborhoods because we have the Ku Klux Klan and the Nazis coming into their neighborhoods. And so, with this current climate that's going on, and the grant that these microphones, Mr. Anders, your teacher here, even myself, are getting paid or able to have these funds because of the Black Panther movement. So right now, this school is considered a sustainable community school, right? And so what that means, we work off pillars, and one of those pillars is collaborative leadership. So that means even the students have a say so in what goes on in this building. Your parents, it's just not admin and adults making decisions. So if you notice, there's a lot of surveys going out to you guys, so you can pick which one you want, what you want to do, how you want to go about it, things like that. So always speak up for yourselves as a group, respectfully, um, things will change. You know what I'm saying? The movement, Fred Hampton and them, they had teenagers, they had young adults, they had 20-year-olds making this movement. Every major movement in this country has really been spawned by the youth. Okay, nobody's listening to the 56-year-olds no more, right? You guys are you guys are the power. You guys are the battery to the country. Everything moves through you guys, and that's a large responsibility, especially coming into man and womanhood at this point, right? It's a huge responsibility, but you can carry it, and I know you can, even by what's going on right here with this podcast.
Okay, so I was hearing how you said that young children, our voices can be heard. I was wondering, do you think if we be able to speak up about certain things, do you feel as if that can change anything?
Yes, yes. I mean, well, the example is the civil rights movement was young people. Um, the Fred Hampton, that was the Black Panther Party. Those were young people. You know, even recently, everything that went on with Joy Floyd, that wasn't just older people out there. That was young people out there saying, "Hey, we don't like what's going on." You know, so you guys definitely have power, but you have to understand, and the thing that you guys need to be taught is how to organize, right? Because you guys are in your own little silo, and if everyone's doing it individually, nothing will move. But if you're able to get people to follow you and everybody speaking up, that makes a big difference. The other thing you guys have power over is money. You spend, like, I want you to really think about how you spend your money and the power of your money and your funds. Um, I'm on this movement now where I'm trying to do everything while I'm buying African American toilet paper, soap, things like that. So I'm always, I want to encourage you guys to be entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying? Be entrepreneurs. The path that you're on right now with podcasting is a great entrepreneurial way of going about things too, because you can monetize your YouTube views and things like that once you get past a certain level of followers. So think about this as a business. I know they don't allow you to use Chat GPT in school, but there's nothing wrong with using it to create a business plan. How if you want to ask Chat GPT, hey, how do we get bigger with our podcast on YouTube? It will lay all of that out for you right then and there. It's just about you executing it at that point.
Mr. Miles, you talked about your experience with the Black Panther Party. Well, can you like dive in a little bit more? Like, have you actually? Well, can you tell us about experiences about anyone within particular party, past and or present?
I met Fred Hampton Jr. Because I used to run a well-known poetry group here in the city by the name of Ear Candy, and through that, I got a chance to meet a lot of great people, and Fred Hampton Jr. was one of them. He would come out to the poetry shows because where I was hosting the show was called the Southside Community Arts Center. The Southside Community Arts Center was founded by Dr. Margaret Burroughs, which is one of my first mentors. She was a living legend when I met her. She kind of reminded me of my grandmother. Um, but through the poetry community and the storytelling and things like that, I was able to meet so many figures that have really changed African American culture in this country. I was able to meet DJ Kool Herc. If you do not know who that is, he's one of the first DJs and rappers who helped initiate the hip hop movement. Um, Fred Hampton Jr., when he describes how his father was and how he was assassinated, um, he's full of passion. He still goes out and do the work. I've been in a Black Panther when they had their center on right across the street from the police station on 79th and Halsted. They used to have one there, and I used to always joke like I know the FBI is watching me now going into this building because I know they always kept an eye on the Black Panther Party in some way, shape, or form. But the movement is still out there. It may not be as public as it once was, but they're still out there and they're still doing the groundwork on making sure that the youth have what they need.
Do you see the Black Panther Party still like taking effect on today's modern day society in any ways?
Um, Not like they used to in the public eye. I think they're working more behind the scenes at this point. Um, but because I've been doing so much work here in the schools with you guys, I haven't really been able to get out and venture into that. But um, with this grant, though, with the SCS grant, the Sustainable Community Schools grant, we've had Black Panther members, the original members who would have been with Mr. Hampton, the original Hampton, the father Hampton at the time, who are still living, who still comes out to support when it comes to this grant. The reason why we have the dollars in the school, I manage $480 something thousand in this building every year, right? And that is still because of the movement around the Black Panther Party. So they are out here. They're just not as public as they used to be.
You, as being in charge of the youth guidance program here, what can you say is the biggest challenge of your job, and how could you give advice to somebody who's trying to be in your position later on in the future?
Whoa, that's a loaded question right there. Well, the first pillar of this grant is inclusive leadership. So that means everyone has to be on board. And that includes administration, to the parents, to the agency, myself, and the students, right? Now, the advice that I would give someone who's coming into this role is that you have to have patience. You must have a love for students, and you must know how to juggle a lot of things at one time to hold it down.
Okay, Mr. Miles, hearing you say that about poetry slams, I'm wondering who some of your favorite African American poets are, or some you think we should check out.
Wow. Okay. So it's so funny that you say that. My favorite two old school poets, Nikki Giovanni, absolutely love her. And of course, my sister, Maya Angelou, right? You cannot go wrong with those two. I have one more, Gil Scott Herring, very powerful poet who I guess his go-to poem that I love was The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Okay. My current poets who I love Oh man, it's a brother by the name of Phenom, Dina Dean, K Love, who just did a show here not too long ago, and of course all my ear candy poets, Unspoken, Miss Passion. These people write some very passionate poems, or I should say spoken word pieces that are performed. There's a lot of talent in this city. This city has produced Love Jones, which was, I don't know if you guys haven't seen Love Jones, check that movie out. That's how the poetry slams pretty much started here in Chicago. I shouldn't say started, but that was like the highlight of this city. Like everyone knows across the country where to come for some real spoken word, and we're the hub for it.
Okay, I'm curious. What's one of your favorite poems by Maya Angelou?
Wow. Still I Rise. Mm-hmm. Still I Rise. You guys check that out. But she has a book too. But the other one I like is Phenomenal Woman. And you being a young sister, you need to read Phenomenal Woman. Um, and I pose it to the guys too, because this is what you if you're looking for, um, you know, my black sister struggle, in this plane, like just this year we've had 300 black women laid off, and they still have to take care of a family, cook, uh, work, hold down a career, whatever the case may be. And so we are nothing without our women. Yep, Phenomenal Woman. Check that out.
Okay, so his house party is where they used to listen to jazz music in the 50s.
Right. So, I mean, as African Americans, we've always had like house parties. But what even when I was coming up, and my parents, I used to DJ for my parents, Gap Band and all this other old school music. But they would have a red light in the basement, and that was called a house party. But that's not what I grew up on. I grew up on something called house music, which is a derivative of disco. So once disco came and left, we picked it up with house music in Chicago, and we took off from there. Right now, house music is the international music that makes a international genre that makes a lot of money. Have you guys heard of EDM? EDM, right? So EDM is another derivative of house music. They took our music that we honed here in Chicago, sped it up, and that's where you get EDM from, right? So to make the comparison, um, you guys have trap and drill music. We know drill music is about killing, trap is about making money, right? And so hip hop was different from rap to me in my eyes. Hip hop was positive. How do we get ahead? Queen Latifah, UNITY, songs of upliftment. And so even through slavery, we always had songs that got us, that brought us together, that had messages in it. Um, and then you had groups like, let's say, uh, NWA, who kind of really started the rap game, where it was like gangster rap and things like that. And so now that's why you're getting your trap and your drill music from that. But music is the reason why the industry had to take over music, because they would rather you sing something negative than something positive. Because what happens is, if you keep, how many times do you guys walk down the street and a song pops in your head, right? Is that song positive or is that song negative? You know what I'm saying? And so I grew up on Shaka Khan. She has songs called "I'm Every Woman." That's an upliftment song for women. So, and if you have a group of, if you have the youth, which the music is always um, geared towards the youth. If you have a bunch of youth talking about fight the power, right, as opposed to "fuck you mean," you know what I'm saying? I couldn't think of nothing at the time, but it's a different vibration. There's a different meaning. There's a different feeling in your soul when you hear it. You know what I mean? There's a time and a place for everything, but I think we had more of a variety of positive, in comparison to the negative music.
So, Mr. Miles, Fred Hampton started the Rainbow Coalition, which allowed poor black people, poor Latin people, poor white people all to combine together. How do you feel the Rainbow Coalition helped today's society?
Well, we weren't able to do, even though it was called the Black Panther Party. There were Native Americans, whites, black, Hispanics. We were all, because there's no way that we get to where we are without the help of everyone, right? So there are white people who have died in this fight, in this struggle. Native Americans who have died in this fight and struggle, and definitely our Hispanic brothers and sisters who have died in the struggle. So it does take a group of people, right? But America's original sin is slavery. That's the original sin. And even though it tries to back away from it, shun it, hide it, especially under this current administration, um, you have to deal with it. Another thing that was hidden from us too, as well, that now that we have access to DNA, we can trace, we can go back to see. Didn't all of us come from Africa? And my grandmother was Choctaw. So you have, but if you were a darker colored Native American, they disclassified you as Native American and made you Negro just by your skin color. And so what's been coming out, and I want you guys to do your own research on this. What's been coming out lately is that you see a lot of black people or African, I can't even call them African American at this point because they're Native American, they're black Native American at this point, right? Or the new term that I've been hearing is foundational blacks, right? So you can't deport us because we've been here. And you start going into South America, you'll see that they have gods that have the nose that we have, things like that. When you begin to travel, get your passport, begin to travel, and you will see that your heritage and your skin color has been revered all over the world throughout time.
So when did y'all find out about what happened to Fred Hampton, and how did y'all feel when y'all found out about it?
I think he passed in '69. Was he assassinated in '69? Okay, so I was born in 1969. So this is coming off the heels of King, Malcolm, John Kennedy, and I do believe Fred Hampton at the time. So I was young. I was like, if I wasn't born, I was 2 or 3 years old when this happened, right? So I found out like because I had the Black Pea Stones in the neighborhood and things like that, and I had a grandfather who was entrenched in doing the work, and my grandmother was the precinct captain. So my grandparents were always heavily involved in politics, and that's how I found out about the Black Panther Party.
To answer your question, when I found out about the Black Panther Party was from my dad. He was talking to me about it from me and my brother when he had heard me say something to one of my friends. I think I called him the N word, and my dad don't like me saying that. And he started, I would say, he started being strict about it more and more, and started telling me about Fred Hampton and what he done. And I feel like how powerful your voice is can also be dangerous as well because for people, let's say police too, they supposed to protect us, but they're scared of how strong a voice and power can be. And I feel like that's kind of crazy because to be silenced from being a very powerful person just because of the things you can say or things you can do by your community is pretty crazy. So yeah.
Well, I found out about Fred Hampton like I want to say late last year, and I like started doing research about Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party because I didn't really know much. But it's like the more I learned about Fred Hampton, it's like the more I realized how fearful the people that well the government at that time and still to this day they were so hungry to keep control. And when you think about things that happened in American history, in African American history, you kind of see the pattern of the government trying to bury us so they could keep the control and power that they had.
Do you feel as if drugs was never like around, or if it just stopped coming around, do you feel as if the environment going to get better or it's going to get worse?
The environment would definitely get better because I mean, when you take a drug, it alters your mind, right? Um, it also creates greed. It also creates distrust. So if you have a community who's number one not thinking straight, right, and then the surrounding thing is greed, right, and then distrust. So no one's trusting each other. So that breeds violence. That breeds broken homes. that breeds imprisonment, lack of education, schools not being funded, and it hurts us economically as a group too. So they knew what they were doing. If we're spending all our money and time on drugs, right, then where's my funds going to in the first place? Because now I'm caught up into this cycle that I can't get out of. That's not good.
I feel as if we get rid of drugs right now, then I feel as if like the world's gonna get more chaotic. Okay, I feel as if it's gonna get more chaotic because right now people is already addicted to it. And if you can, like, as you can see, like on each corner, like it's people asking for money to buy drugs or asking for money to buy alcohol. So I feel as if we get rid of it now, it's gonna get more chaotic, and then like people gonna start try to like do break-ins and do anything to get their hands on drugs since they already got that in their system and they like addicted to it. So if we get rid of it right now, it's just gonna start more. It's like the world's gonna become chaotic. It's like a phone, like how everybody needs their phone. So if you get it, if the phone if you get rid of your phone right now, the world's gonna become chaotic because everybody needs their phone. So it's just like if we get rid of drugs right now, the world is going to become chaotic.
And you know what I say to that? Every drug addict needs a withdrawal period, and so you're gonna have maybe that five year period, right? Let's just say we were able to get rid of all the drugs. I think you would maybe have a 5 year period, right, where people are going through withdrawal because guess what? These people are still breaking into homes. There's still shootings around, drug violence, that comes along with the sale of drugs and things like that, right? And people are profiting off of the jail sentences, right? There's money in imprisonment, right? So every time they lock someone up for the sale of drugs, right? That's another young person off the street that possibly could have been positive in society. Now, just think about the people that you know that if they weren't on drugs, where would they be?
If they weren't on drugs, they probably would be in college. They would have an education, probably be in like a big house or something. Because
Hmm.
really, it's like it mess up your brain. It mess up your mental. So if you be on drugs, like you instantly gonna think different, and you gonna do things that you normally don't do. So I feel as if somebody that was addicted to drugs would have never been on drugs, I feel as if their life would have been better as before
Hmm.
or now.
So most people do drugs because they're traumatized and hurt in some type of way. We come from a very traumatized community. Every time we see something on the news that happens to us, or there were lynchings a couple of years ago. You guys hear about this stuff, you see it, right? And you also poverty is a trauma, right? Walking through neighborhoods who have, well, you see it, a liquor store on every corner instead of a bank, or currency exchanges instead of a bank, right? um, Vacant lots. If you live near the gardens, there's environmental trauma because you can smell the garbage recycling place. That wind blows towards the gardens. That is environmental trauma. So as a people, we've been through a lot of traumas, and so if you put drugs in the community, now people are trying to escape. So when you say your phone, right? I know we're addicted to that phone, but there has to be a time where you're able to put this phone away, right? In order to even concentrate on your own inner self. Because if you sit here and you look, you keep scrolling, creep. So one of the things I had to get off of was TikTok. Because I would lay there at night and just scroll, 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 scroll. And it's on purpose because the algorithm that they put in front of you excites the mind. You're looking for the next hit at that point. So this phone is a drug too as well. But this phone also offers radiation coming in your ear, things like that. The greatest snitch in the world is your cell phone because it pings off a tower. If you make a call, it's letting you know your text messages, your phone records, everything. There's nothing that you put out there that's deleted. It may be deleted off your phone, but it's on someone's cloud server. So be careful about what you put out there, because people, especially when it starts going into job and start looking for job colleges and things like that, they'll go through your Facebook page first.
I'm pretty sure you've lived through the drug epidemic, right?
Yes.
So how do you think that if Fred Hampton was still alive, how do you think he would have changed that outlook and the way that things would have gone?
Well, because I know that the drug movement was government led. I don't think there's much that he could have been able to do other than what they did, which was, I believe the Black Panther Party was one of the party. It was one of the groups that kept heroin off of our streets for a long time during the 70s. So the drug epidemic didn't just start with crack cocaine. We had heroin at first, right? Where people were shooting up needles and things like that. And so when you went to the west side of Chicago, it looked totally different from the south side because they didn't allow heroin over here. The crack epidemic happened because basically there was a loss of jobs. They took away all of our factory plants. They took away opportunities for trades and things like that. And so when people get hungry and they're looking for a way to survive, if the government throws drugs into your community, that's going to be a harder pitfall for you to dig out of, or you might fall into it. You know what I'm saying? So I grew up with very smart people who got caught up on crack, and they did not bode well, or they were selling it. And so I have a lot of peers who were either locked up, did time, got killed for the greed, and or wound up on the drug. And so I even have family members. I have a brother who's been a career. He spent most of his life in jail, based around crack. Yes. I was once asked the question, what's the difference? Well, someone was explaining to me about the fentanyl epidemic that's going on in America. And I told this person, I said, this reminds me of the crack era. And she looked at me and was like, no, it can't be. I said, the only difference is that your students get to go to a healthcare facility, or they get some type of mentoring and things like that, where the people I was coming up with were going to jail. There was no social emotional programs for them, even, or no drug treatment programs at the time for them. They were getting locked up. Even marijuana, right now, I know people who are getting, 10 years for marijuana, and now it's free. Guess who's been cut out of that market for growing it? We have. And so the fentanyl thing that's going on right now. Right now, I'm more worried about the posh that we smoke, the metals and things like that that's in our system, the things that are easily and readily accessible to you guys, that doesn't take a drug dealer to give it to you. The greatest thing that comes to me out of racism is that it did two things. Yes, it set us back as a people, but it's also, and still currently today, setting America back, whether if they realize it or not, because it's this superiority complex that because I'm white, or this system, because it's white, that it's right.
Yeah.
And so they will look over a person as yourself who's very talented, right? Just based on skin color, which is wrong.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so America is one of the richest countries in the world, definitely the most powerful, right? But it's ranked in like the 30s when it comes to education. Why is that? Because the entire country doesn't get the same education. And what poor whites don't understand is that they're in the same boat that we are.
Mm-hmm.
But because they're white, they feel like they feel better than us, right? But you're in the same boat. These people voted for this current administration, and they're still losing their health care. They voted for this administration. Everybody, black, white, if you were poor, you still lost your SNAP benefits. But they voted for this based off of not only political beliefs, their religious beliefs, and their racial beliefs.
Do you feel as if these people were killed because of how they was trying to speak up, and then the government was afraid?
Correct. Um, because slavery is their original sin, we have always been feared. Revolts didn't start, contrary to Kanye's comment of slavery as a choice. We've always fought. We've always overcame. As a matter of fact, through our struggles, we've invented a lot of things that have helped this country make a lot of money off of the work of our forefathers, right? And so I do not take it for granted. But the men that we're talking about in those 60, that was a different movement coming out of the Jim Crow era, where, Fred Hampton, the reason why the gun laws changed is because they were open carrying long rifles to protect their neighborhood. As a matter of fact, the reason why a lot of the gangs were started here in Chicago was to protect the black communities from the Irish that were coming down on us, the Italians who were beating us up, and regular white folk who were beating us up. You know what I'm saying? So this has always been a thing. We've always been feared and misunderstood because of the propaganda that they put out about us. There's a movie called The Making of a Slave. I encourage all three of you all to watch that old movie, because the more you understand about your history, the more you understand about what's going on right now. It'll give you better foundation. The other thing that I would suggest you guys read is a short story by this young man. It's a white young man called the Willie Lynch Letter. Okay. And the Willie Lynch Letter basically said this, hey, and I'm just going to summarize it. He said, as I come riding into town, I see that you have product hanging from the trees. Who was the product? Thank you. Right? So did he say humans? He said product. What you have on your backs right now is product. This microphone is a product. These Rice Krispie treats are a product. So they viewed us as something to be owned.
Um, I want to bring up this song that I have heard. It was a lady. I think she was back in the 50s, I believe. She was singing this song. I really wish that I could remember like what she said, but she was saying something about a fruit.
Strange Fruit, Nina Simone. Come on now, let's go.
It was a song, Strange Fruit, and she was talking about black people getting hanged.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to this song because it was very interesting. And I was thinking, because I had watched about the man in Mississippi, how he done got hung, but people feel as if he killed himself, but he had bruises on his body.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I had heard about this song, I actually listened to this song, Strange Fruit. I listened to the song, and I was watching her explain how black folks used to be hung from trees and stuff like that. So when I had heard this song, that really made me like look at the world differently. Because if you really think about it, like I feel as if nobody should go through that. Not even no whites, no blacks, or any other color, race. Nobody should have went through what we went through, and that's why I love my ancestors, because they're the reason why. Well, they're the reason why we're like how we is now. Like with Harriet Tubman. Like I actually look up to Harriet Tubman. I'm be honest. People don't look her up too much.
So the real question is why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they go through all of this just to hold down little old black us?
Mm-hmm.
We're not the overwhelming population in this country, correct? Mm-hmm. Or maybe we are, but because they declassified us and separated even us, right? That you're trying to, and even through that, right? We still are still overcoming, right? With all of this weight that we have on us, right? We're still managing to be great. And even though we have a lot that fall by the wayside, guess what? They do too, right? Just be sure as there are black crackheads, guess what? There's white crackheads too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Anything that you name, they have it too, right? But the question is, why do you think they go through all of this just to keep us back?
In summation, what should we be mindful about or be more knowledgeable of?
I think you always have to pay homage to the people who have come before you, and so that means you have to learn your history. You have to do some deep diving into who you really are and who we are as a people. That will propel you forward to understand what's happening today, the amount of rights that have been taken away from us over the last 12 months, the declassification of history, or I should say the debunking or erasing of history, especially when it comes to the military. All these heroes that we've had to really get us to where we are now, and then stay focused on your futures. You guys have a lot of wealth and knowledge to give, not only for your families first, right? Because you guys are young, you're gonna eventually have families, right? But also for your community, right? And change starts the way it's happening right now here in this library on the South Side in the hundreds, talking about what we're talking about, because there was a time when we were not able to have this conversation without being reprimanded or hung or hanged, beat up or accosted and things of that nature. So with everything that's going on, I just want you guys to keep your eyes on your future, pay homage to your past, do all the research, read as much as possible. I appreciate you guys. Love y'all, man. Thank you. Go Titans.
Tired.
Well, after filming the Mr. Miles interview, we found out that he was leaving us here at Fenger. And we just wanted to say that, Mr. Miles, we truly did thank you here, and we truly appreciate the amount of time and effort you put in at Fenger. You are a big help and a big part of this school and many people's lives, and that you've really made a positive effect on the school, and we really, really will truly miss you. In conclusion, I would like to thank you for listening to the Fenger Titans podcast. We appreciate you listening. Please like, share, and we hope that you tune in to our next podcast whenever they may be. We thank you for your patronage, and we hope you have a great spring.